Aloha and welcome to my presentation, Let's Go Barbless. My name is Jarrick and today I'm going to be talking to you about why fishermen should use barbless hooks. So do you fish? By raise of hands, how many people here fish? Alright, so for the people who don't fish, it's okay. The information I'm sharing today is good for both fishermen and non-fishermen alike. So I've been fishing pretty much my whole life. Fishing over the weekends, over the summer. I just loved to fish when I was a kid. And this love later transpired into ulua fishing. And if you don't know what an ulua is, it is basically the biggest game fish that Hawaiian waters has to offer. It is basically every fisherman's dream catch. And the reason why I bring this up is this is where I was first introduced to barbless hooks. Now, if you don't know what a barbless hook is, here is a picture of a barbed and barbless hook. The one on the left has a little part that protrudes out, and as you can see, the barbless one on the right doesn't have that. And the real question is, why should you use barbless hooks? Well, there's three great benefits to using them. The first being that catch rates aren't affected. Second is less injury to fish and people. And third is its self-shedding capability. So the first benefit, there's a common misconception that fishermen and people think that if they use barbless hooks, they're going to end up losing more fish. But it's not true, it's false. And it's actually the same thought I had when I first thought about using barbless hooks. Because I always thought the barb is what kept the fish on the hook. But it's actually the design of the hook that keeps the fish on. And to prove that, a field test was conducted by two groups, PIFSC, which is Pacific Island Fisheries Science Center, and PIFG, a nonprofit organization, Pacific Islands Fisheries Group. They conducted this test and used two different types of hooks, barbed and barbless hooks. And they caught 300 different types of reef fish using them. And over that span of time, they came to a conclusion that there was no noticeable difference. So that means barbed hook catch about the same amount of fish and lose about the same amount of fish. So it does away with the thought that barbless hooks lose more fish. They don't. It's false. Catch rates are not affected. Second benefit is less injury to fish and yourself. So benefits for fish, a lot of times when we go fishing, we set out to catch a specific type of fish, the good eating ones, and we end up catching the ones that we don't want to eat. So barbless hooks come in handy for this because they make the hook removal much faster. You get the fish back in the water sooner, thus increasing its chances for survival. And every fish is important. It's part of the food chain. So even if we don't want to eat it, something else will. It's very important to get them back in as quickly as possible. Benefits for people, as you can see in this picture, this fisherman got hooked pretty deeply in his finger. And if that's a barbed hook, is what I think it is, it's going to be very, very painful to remove. Actually, I have a story to go with this. I was fishing in intermediate and with my cousin Tyson and my good friend Kyle. And to make a long story short, I already had my poles out, I had put my bells on, and I was watching as my friend Kyle casted his pole. He hooked my cousin Tyson right in his back. And I ran over because he screamed, and I saw that the hook and the barb was buried in his skin. So I ran up and I tried to remove it with my fingers. He screamed, and I was like, oh my goodness, you would not believe how tough the human skin is and how stretchy. So I was like, oh, I got to do something about this. So I took off my shirt, I wound it up tight, and I put it, and I said, here, bite on this. I'll be right back. So I run to the tackle box, I get my pliers, and I come back, and I literally had to grab a hard grip of that hook and yank it out. It was a bloody mess. I mean, I kind of tore his skin, and it was very painful for him. So the point is that if we were using barbless hooks then, it would have been much easier to take out that hook and much less painful. So barbless hooks cause less injury, not only to the fish, but to ourselves. The third benefit, I feel, is the most important one, and it's the self-shedding capability. Now, accidental hookings, they happen, and they tend to happen with our protected marine life, and which is the Hawaiian green sea turtle and the Hawaiian monk seal. So there's steps to take if you ever hook one or see one hooked on a beach. And for the green sea turtle, it's important to know that it is okay to help them. If you ever hook them, try to reel them in with care and clip the line as close to the hook as possible. For the seal, you got to handle them a little bit different because they're bigger and they tend to get aggressive if you come close. So you want to keep a safe distance and clip the line. But it's very important to call the NOAA hotline, which is the number shown on the screen, 1-888-256-9840, and they're available 24/7. But the reason why it's important to call them, they're going to basically ask you for some vital information, the location of where you hooked the seal or where the seal is hooked. They're going to ask where the seal is hooked at, and it's ultimately going to help them respond correctly to the seal and hopefully save the seal's life. Now, self-shedding capability. There are two ways that fish can end up living or dying with a hook in its mouth. One being break-offs. And break-offs, if you ever heard the saying, the one that got away, I think it originated from fishing. So when you're fighting that fish, a lot of times the fish can outsmart you. They wrap around the coral head and they cut you off. They end up living with that hook in their mouth. And the second way is lost rigs. And I'm actually going to let Kurt Kawamoto explain this one. Kurt is the Barbless Circle Hook project manager. He's actually a huge advocate of barbless hooks. And he's a big part of why local fishermen are now using barbless hooks, including myself. He's a huge promoter of it, and he states, when losing your entire rig, it could continue to fish and hook up if it still has bait on it. Meaning that even after, say we cut our line on the rocks and the whole rig is down there, hook, line, and sinker, and the bait, the fish is swimming by, it picks that bait up, it's going to get that hook stuck in its mouth for a long time. And the reason why we don't want to leave hooks in fish's mouths, it could lessen their ability to feed properly, lead to malnutrition, infection, and worst case scenario, it could lead to their death. So we want to try and avoid that altogether, try to give them the best chance at survival, and using barbless hooks can do that. And how do we know if these barbless hooks are self-shedding? Well, this incident right here was recorded by a monk seal rescue team. And this is back in 2007, right here on the Big Island. So the rescue team showed up, and as the personnel approached the seal with the hook in the mouth, the seal got startled and tried to hobble away, and it ended up taking out the hook on its own. The hook just fell out of the mouth. Come to find out, it's a barbless hook. And this is proof, the first ever recorded witness, that barbless hooks are self-shedding. So this all comes to say all of these benefits that barbless hooks work. They catch fish, they cause less injury to fish and to us ourselves, and thirdly, they're self-shedding. So how can you get barbless hooks? Unfortunately, they don't sell them in stores, but they do. You can make them yourself. If you have these tools, crimper, long nose pliers, or a file, either smash down the barb or file them off. Takes a few seconds, but it's worth it. So I encourage you guys to take the barbless hook challenge. Be a responsible fisherman. Make the choice to use barbless hooks. And do your part to help perpetuate our ocean resources. Please, please, please spread the word, people. Just want to say thank you all for being here, and hope you all learned something. Hope some of you will use barbless hooks and spread the news. Have a good one. Aloha.